worrying developments in Manipur, even as the state has been at the epicenter of violence and unrest since 2023. There have been two drone attacks. Drones that have been used for explosives in a span of 2 days. Two attacks. On September 1st and 2nd, two villages of Imphal West District, both Methi minority areas. In the first instance, 2 civilians dead, 9 injured. In the second instance, 3 civilians injured. Shrapnel wounds from explosives dropped by drones was another common phenomenon. In fact, Manipur has called this unprecedented. The use of rocket-propelled grenades being dropped by drones. Police has claimed that they were used by Kuki militants. A statement made on 1st September after the first drone attack and marks a significant escalation. Highly trained professionals have been part of this operation, according to Manipur police. Chief Minister Biren Singh has called the use of drones with explosives against forces and civilians as an act of terror. Questions on central forces have been raised not only by the Congress, but also from within the BJP, with BJP MLA and Chief Minister Biren Singh's son-in-law writing a letter to Home Minister demanding for the central forces to be withdrawn, accusing them of being quote-unquote mute spectators. The centre has appointed a high-level committee which will probe use of drones for dropping explosives. Army, police, paramilitary officials are to be part of this panel to work with technical experts and BSF experts. In fact, the state police has also appointed another high-level expert panel. If you look at the Manipur peace challenge, it has literally been unrelenting. Kuki-Methi clashes have been going on since May 2023 with intermittent outbreaks of violence. Over 220 have been killed. 50,000 people have been internally displaced. Methi is demanding for inclusion under the scheduled tribe category, and Kukis are the Kuki tribe wants separate state carved out of Manipur. Amid this very sensitive situation, we have a panel of experts joining us. First, allow me to go across to Bimol Akoijom, the Congress MP from Manipur. Thank you very much, sir. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. As a MP, as a member of the Parliament from Manipur, could you give us a realistic understanding of what the situation in Manipur is right now?
You know, there has been an effort to sort of normalize an essentially disorder situation. And that effort to normalize that abnormality that exists in the state for the last 15 months has been exposed once again by this violence that have happened. It's a fresh round of violence, but this time what has happened is, there is a drone being used to bomb civilian places. That's a turning point at one level. And it also reminds you of the same old problem that people are started asking our central security forces deployed in the area, especially in the foothills, and how come that from the same area where the central forces are deployed, particularly Assam Rifles, how come that those guys shooting down on the valley from those areas? These are all issues, but the new situation has emerged in terms of the use of drone and rocket grenades and so on. So that is the new development that we have. It's a serious security situation now.
This is a huge challenge. You are calling it a turning point. Police has said this is unprecedented in Manipur itself. Drones with explosives being used on civilian population civilians as well as the forces for that matter. How does this turn mean for peace? What does this turn in fact mean for peace?
This is, one of the tragedy of this crisis is that there are more than 60,000 Central Armed Forces, and despite their presence, 60,000 people have lost their homes, 200 plus have died, and people don't have free movement. Depending on, there are a de facto sort of a boundary on the line of community in a multicultural country like India. This has been happening, and the new development has once again exposed the threat. Since you have not taken it in an initial phase, this is all the more serious now. If this drone can be flown and, it can drop, Ras Bhavan is exposed, the governor residence, CM residence, important installations, hospitals are vulnerable. Police stations are vulnerable besides the civilian population. So it is an altogether different level. And I don't know, the intelligence department was caught napping, I suppose. Didn't have any idea that such a thing could happen.
There is a huge central force in Manipur, and that's also something that you've mentioned is to police, state police as well. There has been a massive security cover. I mean, this has been going on since May 2023, the violence, the unrest, and still unprecedented acts of terror. If I have to quote the CM, amid it all, how is this to be viewed? I mean, considering it's also happening through extremely strong, massive security cover.
No, the law and order has collapsed. Constitutional order has collapsed long time back. And that's what I am saying, that people have tried to normalize this essential abnormality as if everything is back to normal and so forth. And we have been bluffing ourselves, especially through the national media. Disinformation campaign has been carried out for so long that you don't believe that there are people who with sophisticated weapons, M16, besides AK-47, weapons which is not even in the hands of the Indian Army, which is not, the M16 is not available with the Indian Armed Forces or the police. And how come these weapons have been there? But, the journalists who parachuted from outside and says these are cartouches, local-made guns, villagers protecting themselves. That kind of a bluff has been going on for too long. And now that you have not only those rifles and sophisticated weapons are being used, but also drones are being used. But, you have intelligence network in a small place like Manipur, whose population is comparable to a population of a district in Delhi. 60,000 troops, Central Armed Forces. What they have been doing all this while? What happened to our intelligence network? Incidentally, this incident in Kautruk, the people who are shooting down from the hill is nearby. You have Assam Rifle Post. This has been an issue people have been raising. What happened? Despite the presence of Central Police Organization and paramilitary and army units, how come this violence has been happening, including the latest one? These are serious issues that we, instead of bluffing, we should be worried about it, that this is not Ukraine, this is India. We forget this. And some people think that it is okay, possibly it happens far away in a distant place called Manipur, so nobody bothers. It is outside of the mainstream, so nobody bothers. That is the only explanation that I have now.
You're saying nobody bothers, but the center has constituted a panel with forces and experts, army, police, paramilitary, and other experts all supposed to be looking into this collectively. So has the state police as well. So how do you see these measures that have been brought over the last 24 hours?
see, there was already something called Unified Headquarters, which looks after the coordinations of different armed forces and state police organizations. Not only central police organizations, state police, army units, paramilitary, to have an effective coordination among them to deal with, according to the mandate, security issues and law and order. That's called Unified Headquarters. Commonly it is referred to as Unified Command. That was in place. That has not been working, quite obviously. And there's an absolute lack of coordination. It sometimes pops up on media. If there has been an effective coordination, do you think that this violence would have happened? I'm repeating it again. In a small place, you have 60,000 troops, besides thousands of Manipur police. How come that the state is not able to coordinate with the security agencies? So, saying that new coordination committee, I don't think. You are referring to what the DG has instituted. That is to look after this latest incident. That's also surprising at one level. You have Mr. Kuldeep Singh, who is chairman of the Unified Headquarters, who is looking in the coordination. We don't know, just as we don't know who's calling shots in Manipur. Is it the union government or the state government? I have been raising these issues from day one. We don't know who's in charge of Manipur's law and order situation. The state cabinet and the chief minister says that it was taken away by the union government long time back, and he did not also protest. It's a strange situation that we have.
Questions are being raised that where are these drones being acquired from? The drones particularly that are being used with explosives at this point. Do you see this still as an internal problem between communities in Manipur, or are you concerned about the foreign hand?
No, there could be foreign players, which right from the day one, that is also something that we have been saying, that there are foreign elements involved here in this crisis. Otherwise, where these ATs are coming, who are shooting down on the valley with the M16 rifle, ye kahan se aaya? How come these weapons, which is available in the Myanmar and Thailand side, so international dimension was there right from the day one. So even the drone is used in the crisis in Myanmar right now.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Bimal Akajam, for joining us. This is, of course, a tense situation, but thank you for sparing the time and for giving us your perspective on this. Thank you so much. All right, and I'm being told we're going to be joined by Rajat Sethi, who's a former advisor to Manipur Chief Minister. We need to have him in a short while from now. But I'm also being joined by P.K. Mishra right now, who's the former ADG for BSF. Thank you so much, Mr. P.K. Mishra, for joining us. Mr. P.K. Mishra, as somebody who has served in Manipur, how do you look at what is being referred to as an escalation of situation with drones being used with explosives against the forces and the civilian population?
Yes, Sneha, I can well tell that I really served more than 10 years in Manipur. And we were operating counter-insurgency operations not in Kachchi, Surachandpur, Bisnupur and these areas. Counter-insurgency operations were being conducted on hills, where now bombs are being prepared. I have seen how PAK and UNLF and KYKL, KYKLO, ZRA, they were operating there. How NSC and Khaplang, they were there in Myanmar side. The worst part of it, now the situation, what is there now for the last 7 days, it is not a cookie mighty class. It has gone much beyond it. Deep state is involved in that. I am telling you very clearly. I was listening to the previous speaker. It's not only M16, even the bombs, even the drones which even one of it was recovered and the others were used. This technical phenomenon which has now gone, it is beyond the jurisdiction of Manipur police. They cannot have operation now in those hill areas. They are the same which are used by the rebels against the Janta government in Myanmar, and they have penetrated. Anyway, I am not mentioning a party of it. They have enough money. Every year 70,000 crores were collected because of poppy cultivation. They have purchased those drones from Myanmar. The worst part of it,
Okay.
Manipur border is not manned.
No, hold on. Are you saying
it is
that the drones that are being used right now with explosives have been purchased from Myanmar?
Yeah. Absolutely, it has come from Myanmar because Myanmar border is not protected. It's not BOP deployment as in India-Pakistan border, India-Bangladesh border. The border is open, and that is how they are penetrating. And this is what I can well tell you. We have more than 60,000 Myanmaris who are there in Manipur. And then these people, they are in touch with these opposite side, and the weapons have come from there. There are two ways the weapons have come. Number one is from Manipur, Myanmar border. The other one is from Myanmar via Mizoram, Guite Road, then Tidim Road, Singhat, Jizo, and Chudachandpur. And the worst part of it, the areas you can, well, I can tell you, we have 60,000 troops. 60,000 troops, and we cannot control a small state. And counter-insurgency operation and unified command absolutely not performing well. That is why the situation has gone completely beyond. I can well tell you on
P. Mishra, you made some very important points. Give me a few minutes to go to the other panelists, and I'll return to you because I need you to spend some more time on this. But I'm told Rajat Sethi will be leaving us in a bit. Mr. Rajat Sethi, you've been the former advisor to Manipur Chief Minister. Very quickly, my first question to you, Mr. Rajat Sethi. To what our panelists now have said, look, it's not just the Manipur police that's there. You have central forces. You have around 60,000 in a state like Manipur. What are we really looking at? What is... I mean, the first question that everybody is asking is, how is this situation escalating to where it is, despite the central forces on ground? And it's not just the opposition that's asking this. Even from within BJP, you have MLA who's the secretary to the Chief Minister, who's written a letter to Amit Shah. I mean, there's a common tone to the concern that's being raised.
See, you know, in India, we have reached a level where questioning our security forces is a very touchy topic. We don't tend to question our security forces and hold them accountable. But that practice needs to be called into question, especially because 60,000 paramilitary troops have been deployed. I don't think any other state has that amount of deployment than Manipur has. And in spite of that deployment completely into the buffer zone, which is between the hills and the valley area, still militants, and predominantly Kuki militants in this specific case, they've been able to launch RPGs and drone attacks crossing the buffer zone into the valley area. What were the security forces doing? When will the head roles, people within the security establishment are held accountable? Isn't it, for all of us to ask this question? See, the unified command. I mean, you asked me about the unified command.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal. To what the security forces are capable of doing, the country knows. But another very important point, it's not the security forces that are elected by the country. The elected representatives are different. And first, the heads, if you are asking about heads to be rolled, then don't heads need to be rolled first from the elected representatives who represent the country, who are elected by the people?
That's the easy target. Politicians have always been the easy target. You can roll the heads, but then tell me in a specific situation. Oh, yes, 100%. Tell me in a specific situation, what are 60,000 paramilitary troops doing? Whose day in and day out the job is to secure the area, bring in a violence-free condition so that the political dialogues can actually begin. You can completely remove an elected government and like place a president rule. That's an easy job to do with a stroke of a pen. But then doesn't it reflect on the grim reality that our security establishment is not equipped to meet a challenge within a small state? What will happen if there is an adversary which is
No,
bigger in size, bigger in
and I
power,
want to
bigger
get
in
in Mr.
magnitude?
PK Mishra to this.
How
I have another
security
question
forces
to
will
ask.
execute?
I have another
Yes.
question to ask Rajat Sethi, but because you
Yes, ma'am.
raised this point at this point, I have to get in Mr. PK Mishra. Mr. PK Mishra, you've heard what Rajat Sethi has said, but is it really about accountability of the central forces,
Yes.
or is it political accountability?
Yes, Sneha, I can tell you it is the accountability of both. It's both political and also for the unified command. I can well tell, see, the political scenario, if it is going on for the last 1 year, why a common discussion cannot be made between Cookie Joe and mighty communities? Why they can't come to a single forum? Number two, so many weapons have been looted from police stations by the Agma group of mighties. Most of them have not yet been recovered. And it's okay, we are blaming cookies, no doubt. Now the drones have come. I can well tell this. Yes, we have 60,000 forces. Unified command is there. Sneha, I can well tell you, we can have counter-insurgency operations. They will be successful if your border is protected. If your border is open, you do thousands of counter-insurgency operations, it will not yield any result. The first thing government should do, the political bosses should do, that is to deploy a border guarding force in Myanmar, Manipur border, or otherwise more and more drones and RPGs and bombs will be coming as they were coming. Number two, the counter-insurgency operations will not be made in Chorachandpur, Chandel, Kankopi, and Bishnupur and Loktak and those areas. If you want to really capture these drones and bombs, you have to go to the hills where they are being located. They are the areas of Sitaj, Bihang, Sugnu, Chappi Karang, Sajik Tampka, Muldag,
Okay.
Henglip. Here, nobody has yet gone.
Right.
Counter-insurgency operations have not yet been started in the hills where they are still holding on. And there
Okay.
is deep state involvement. I told you very clearly in 2023, two American journalists were there in Chorachandpur. It can well be proved they were there. And the weapons are coming. There is a connection of China also is.
Okay.
So
okay.
you have to be
just
very
hold the thoughts,
careful
sir. I'll
and
just get
close
back to you.
the
Let
border.
me just get a quick
Seal the
response
border.
from Rajat
So-
Sethi. If you may allow me. If you can allow me, sir,
Yes,
Rajat Sethi, if I can
please
come
do.
to you, what Mr. P. Mishra said. Well, PK Mishra says it's an accountability from both sides that's required. Would you agree that there is a failure of political accountability, Mr. Sethi? Because here the opposition and even people in Manipur, including the Chief Minister, really has said, who is responsible for Manipur? Who's governing Manipur? There seems to be lack of clarity between the centre and the Manipur. There was a Chief Minister who at one side at one term went on to say that shots are being called by the centre, not the state.
See, ultimately, the security, the internal security of Manipur is not under the unified command. Typically, the chief minister of Manipur, so far before the current crisis unfolded, he was the chairman of the unified command. He used to head the unified command. But that ever since, I think, June of 2023, the unified command has been brought in under the security advisor, who is a former, very senior police officer and also the former DGP of CRPF. The entire unified command has been brought under him. And the state police and all other paramilitary forces have to report to the unified command, not to the chief minister. This fact needs to be understood. Therefore, the chief minister, as such, doesn't have the wriggle
And the
room,
unified
elbow
command
room
is under
to
the
actually
centre?
go. Yes, it is under the centre, but it acts in a way when it is advising the
Are you essentially saying that the state has no role whatsoever for the security of Manipur? It's completely under the center.
It is under the unified
Political
command.
buck stops
Unified,
with the center. It's not with the state.
it is to the unified command.
No, but unified command is under something. It's not an independent body
Yes,
by
I mean,
itself.
I'm sure, absolutely.
No, it's not by itself. Unified command doesn't work by itself.
Absolutely. Ultimately, the unified command has to report in to the Ministry of Home, and the corresponding bureaucrats who are responsible for ensuring that they hold the unified command accountable have to also answer. So there's a whole chain of hierarchy which has to come down and answer to
So
what,
are you
how
then
did the
essentially
current violence
saying,
happen?
Rajat Sethi, that an elected Manipur government is saying this is beyond them, they have no role and they have no powers, it's been stripped of them, it's for the center to decide? Is that what, is that what Manipur is?
The state DGP has to respond to the unified command, to the chief minister. And that's how the state of affairs is. That was put in for a reason.
But the chief minister, is elected by the people. Why doesn't the chief minister resign? Why doesn't the chief minister resign, saying he has no powers to change anything?
See, it's
not
his
party center, it's not another party.
That is sitting in Delhi studio. It's very easy to comment on ground affairs of Manipur, but let me tell you, it's a very complex affair. The accusation coming in from the Kuki community was that the police of Manipur was actually compromised and party to the current ongoing conflict. They were supposed to be removed from the direct day-to-day actions and were brought under the overall command of the unified command that was handled by the security advisor, just so that there is some semblance of justice being delivered. That was the reason. Everything that happens, there is a reason and precedents that were called in for. The problem is that now the accountability has to be fixed at somebody.
But there is no semblance of justice whatsoever. The situation was only escalating, Mr. Rajat Sethi.
No, it's
Would
not.
You agree with that? There is no semblance of justice. The situation is only escalating. For what?
The media reacts at the time when an event happens, which is fair. I'm not questioning that. But since April, there were conducive ground that was created for political dialogues between the two warring communities. And that was happening. The point is that this unprovoked
and then
violence that happened, the security forces at least have to ensure that there are violence-free days and violence-free months so that political dialogue can carry on without the pressures, the pull pressures of the society because of a violent activity like this. Now the men are up in arms. They are like.
So are you essentially saying that there's been absolutely no political will from the center to ensure that the security forces need to act the way they do?
No, Sneha, please don't put words in my mouth.
I'm trying to decode this because what we know about the country, it's not the security forces that are accountable to people. It's the center and the state. It's the elected government, sir.
I have cautiously selected my words. Again, I'm repeating it for your sake and for your audience's sake. The political dialogue since April, when the violence actually stopped, was going on. Ministry of Home Affairs was actually ensuring that both the parties are actually behind the curtains, talking, deliberating, discussing the way forward and creating a common ground. Now, a violent event that happens, it disturbs the equation. And this is where the security establishment should have been extra cautious when the dialogue is happening. Do not let a stray incident come in and hijack the whole dialogue process. And this is where the problem happened. And this is why I'm asking for accountability from the security forces, whose primary job is to ensure a common ground, a violent-free common ground between the two communities to come in and negotiate. These are subtleties. Please understand the subtleties.
Why don't you come in here? There would be no one better to respond to what Rajat Sethi is saying. Rajat Sethi is saying that, listen, there was a window of dialogue. There was a dialogue that was happening. It just fell apart because the security forces couldn't do what they were meant to do. Is that even a fair lens to be looking at how this needs to be seen? Indian democracy does not work on accountability of security forces. Indian democracy works on the principle of accountability of elected governments.
Definitely. First of all, I will tell that he is not, unified command answerable to the center. He is a security advisor to the Manipur government. I repeat, security advisor to the Manipur government. And this whole unified command or the security advisor, they are all under the Manipur government, whose is the Honorable Chief Minister. It's very, very clear. And yes, we have a security advisor, we have so many paramilitary forces. When I know the Honorable Chief Minister has made one emissary also to discuss both the groups. The Naga Chairman Committee. He was going to discuss between both the committees, Kuki-Jo and Maitri's things were on, and he was visiting all those areas. But this drone structure which has come now, first day the drone attack it came. Yes, I agree. But second day also it started. It was as if a battle in Russia and Ukraine. Kursk was there in Manipur. How come so many drones have come? So this intelligence should have been there with us, even if one was recovered. Sneha, I am still telling you.
With us means what, PK Mishra? Could you specify? Since the debates has been drawn very clearly.
Yes. I'm very clearly telling that, you see, to stop this type of thing, up from the first day it has happened, we have to first check the border. The border should have been immediately checked, and the center could have been requested to send a particular paramilitary, a border guarding force to guard the border so that more drones could not come to our country. And then there is a national security, and we should go for counter-insurgency operation in the hills. The firing is coming from that drones and the bombs are coming from the hills. You cannot operate in Kaching and Chorachandpur area. You have to go to the fields. Fields, who will go? Of course, the paramilitary force will go, but they have to be told, they have to cooperate. So there must be some problem which has happened, because some weapons were also snatched on the second day from the IRP. They are in. When the drones it landed, one LMG and one AK rifle and one in SAS, they were snatched. That is a very, it's the same, I am telling you. So both the sides, when of course, Minister tried his best also, but
all right.
I am telling you, deep involvement is still there, and we should have acted also. First of all, our first eye should have gone to Myanmar border and Manipur-Myanmar border. Go for a counter-insurgency operation by Assam Rifles.
All right, sir.
Manipur,
I'm totally out of time. Rajat Sethi, my last question to you again at this point. And Mr. Rajat Sethi, I know you have to also leave, Mr. Rajat Sethi. You know, I know you said the statement that it's very easy to ask questions in a Delhi studio. I agree to an extent. But I also have a very defined role, and that is to ask the questions that I need, particularly when it comes to Indian democracy. A simple question. Has the state failed? Not just the state, have the elected governments failed at the center and the state? And more so, Rajat Sethi, if you're saying the Chief Minister has been stripped of his powers and he doesn't have any power to be able to counter this, why doesn't he resign? Won't that be the strongest message in a democratic country?
I mean, resign and do what? Create an undemocratic setup?
You tell me, Mr. Rajat Sethi, because you are, what is the Chief Minister doing? Because you are saying he doesn't have any powers.
Ultimately,
you know, I'm genuinely asking you, because you are saying he doesn't have any powers.
No, it's a specific, again, I'm saying in the unified command for a temporary cause, it was brought under a neutral person who was perceived to bring in neutrality to law and order situation in the state. Otherwise, the situation would have carried on. There would have been less trust from the cookies onto the chief minister and vice versa. This was the reason why a unified command was brought in, which could operate with relative amount of freedom to execute and bring in a semblance of justice across societies, across the lines of different communities. This was the reason why it was brought in. Has the state failed? 100%. It hasn't failed today. It failed a year back. The point is that this time window for 1.5 years could have been utilized to create violence-free months so that the political dialogue can be brought in. Ultimately, it is a legitimately elected government. You can remove it with the stroke of a pen. You'll have to call in the elections and replace it with another democratically elected and a legitimate
there's a big difference
government.
between removing it. No, Rajat, let me be very clear. There's a big difference between removing a government and between a government resigning. There's two very big differences. The two are very
Again, reiterate, Sneha, both the Kuki ministers and the Meitei ministers, none of them have shown, an edgy behavior and resigned. Both of the ministers who are part of the current establishment, be it Kukis and Meiteis, still hold on to their portfolios and still hold on to the responsibility that they have been elected leaders, and they are still negotiating with the help of the Ministry of Home Affairs behind the curtains, so that all differences can be addressed in an environment where there are lesser pressures. You need to have a security establishment which can provide political class violence 3 months. You need time. You cannot have spurts of
All
events
right,
which
we are
completely
totally out of
destroy the
time. We're very, and Rajat Sethi, PK Mishra bring in some very important perspectives. So does the Manipur MP who joined us a while back. You may agree with them, disagree with them, but I think one thing that we all know is the challenge for peace in Manipur is tremendous. It's a very sensitive situation, and accountability is a must, most importantly, from the elected political establishment. Thank you very much, Rajat Sethi, as well as PK Mishra, for joining us. Thank you so much.